Imagine a boy who lied so much that even the animals stopped trusting him. But what happened next shocked an entire village. This is a story you won't forget. In a small village nestled beside a deep green forest lived a 12-year-old boy named Farhan. Farhan had one big problem. He lied about everything. Not just small, harmless lies, he made up stories about things that didn't even make sense. If he was late for school, he'd announce, "A giant bear chased me all the way here." If he didn't finish his homework, he'd claim, "A crow stole my notebook right off my desk." If he didn't feel like helping at home, he'd sigh and say, "My legs have turned to jelly. I can't move." At first, his stories were amusing. But soon, people stopped believing him. The other kids stopped playing with him, tired of his constant fabrications. But Farhan didn't seem to care. He thought lying made him interesting, even important. He loved the attention, even if it was negative. Little did he know, someone else was watching, the animals of the forest. They heard his tall tales, and they were paying attention. One sunny afternoon, Farhan wandered into the forest to play, just as he always did. He stumbled upon a deer, its leg caught in a thick bush, trembling with fear. The deer's eyes seemed to plead, "Help me, please." But Farhan, seeing an opportunity for another dramatic story, panicked and ran back to the village shouting at the top of his lungs, "A tiger! A tiger is chasing a deer! Quick, everyone, help!" The villagers, startled and concerned, grabbed sticks, farming tools, and whatever else they could find, and rushed into the forest behind him. But when they arrived, there was no tiger, there was no chase. There was just the same scared deer, tangled in the roots of a bush. They all turned and glared at Farhan. One of the elders said sternly, "Enough with your lies." The deer stared at Farhan too, but its gaze wasn't one of fear. It was disappointment. From that day on, everything changed. A squirrel that used to chatter at him from a branch now threw nuts at him in annoyance. Birds that once sang nearby flew away the moment he approached. Even the stray dog who used to follow him everywhere, wagging its tail, now turned its back and walked away. For the very first time in his life, Farhan felt truly and completely alone. The animals didn't trust him anymore, and honestly, neither did the people. That night, feeling dejected, Farhan sat at the edge of the forest. He noticed that not a single creature had come near him, not even the little robin that always used to perch on his knee, hoping for crumbs. The silence felt heavy. Then, suddenly, a sharp, desperate cry echoed through the trees. It sounded like a young goat, calling for help. Farhan didn't hesitate. He rushed toward the sound and saw a small goat stuck near the riverbank. Its foot was trapped tightly under a web of tangled roots, and the dark water was rising dangerously around it. He knew he couldn't save it alone. He raced back to the village, shouting with all his might, "Help! A goat is drowning, please, come quickly, this is real." But the villagers didn't budge, they just shook their heads. "No more lies, Farhan," one called out. "We're tired of your stories," said another. An old woman sighed, "We're not falling for this again." Farhan felt something deep inside him break. He whispered, his voice cracking, "This time I'm not lying." But no one believed him. His past had caught up to him. So, he ran back to the river alone. The goat cried out again, its voice weaker now, as the cold water swirled around its body. Farhan pulled on the thick roots. He pushed against the heavy rocks, struggling with all his strength, but he wasn't strong enough. He was just a boy. In desperation, he shouted into the empty forest, "Someone, anyone, please help." Only silence answered. Until something nudged his shoulder. He turned, and it was the same stray dog who had avoided him for days. Behind it, a small group of animals had gathered, the squirrel, the robin, and even the shy deer. The animals had returned. The dog started barking loudly, as if calling for more help. The birds swooped low, chirping urgent signals. The deer pressed its strong legs against the roots, pushing with all its might, while the squirrel gnawed away at the thinner ones. With their help, Farhan pulled the goat with every last bit of energy he had, and suddenly, with a snap, the goat broke free. Farhan collapsed onto the ground, breathless and exhausted. The animals surrounded him, but this time, they weren't fearful or angry. They were understanding. The dog looked at him, its eyes seeming to say, "We came because you meant the truth this time." The robin landed softly on his knee. In that moment, Farhan realized a profound truth. Animals might not speak our language, but they always understand the honesty of the heart. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "I'm sorry. I won't lie again. Not to you, not to people, not to myself. The animals stayed by his side, their presence a silent form of forgiveness. When Farhan brought the wet, shivering goat back to the village, people were shocked. How did you save it all by yourself? Someone asked in amazement. Farhan swallowed hard, took a deep breath, and said honestly, I didn't. The animals helped me. The villagers stared in disbelief. The boy who always lied was finally telling the truth. And it was the most unbelievable story he had ever told. From that day forward, Farhan kept his word. He became known not as the boy who lied, but as the boy who speaks honestly. The animals returned to him as friends. The dog followed him everywhere. The birds perched on his shoulders without fear, and even the shy deer would walk close to him in the forest. Farhan had changed, and the whole village saw it. He had learned a valuable lesson. Trust is fragile. Once it's broken, it's incredibly hard to repair, but honesty, when practiced with courage, can make it stronger than ever before. And he discovered something even more important. Lies might get you attention for a moment, but it's the truth that earns you respect for a lifetime. If you enjoyed this story, tap the like button, subscribe to our channel, and keep learning in your own unique way. This is Education Insights, where curiosity comes alive. Thanks for watching.